Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing The Equalizer 3. So like I said, I haven't been getting out to the theaters, one because I work full-time now because of crime, and two because it's too expensive. And so working full-time again doesn't give me any extra spending cash, it just maintains the poverty level life income that I've been living on. So that's always fun, but you know how we do it on this one. I will be giving you my overall impressions and grade after reading the description as provided by Google. I will then give you my grade. If you've not seen the movie and would like to, based or not based on my recommendation, you're going to want to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. We'll be discussing the plot synopsis, any character development, and any similar movies or major themes. So The Equalizer 3 is rated R, released in 2023. It is an action/thriller. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. And this one I would have seen in theaters if I could afford it. But it says, since giving up his life as a government assassin, Robert McCall finds solace in serving justice on behalf of the oppressed. Now living in southern Italy, he soon discovers his new friends are under the control of local crime bosses. As events turn deadly, McCall becomes their protector by taking on the mafia. 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Box office did $191 million, originally released on September 1st. What did I think? Again, I'm a fan of the Equalizer installments. I thought the first two were stronger and more convincing. I thought this plot was a little, again, kind of your generic crime and vigilante justice type of thing. I didn't think there was really much depth or dimension added to Robert McCall's characterization. And I think that you don't really get the motivation as to why he's doing what he's doing in this one until the very end, which I thought did not do this movie justice. As opposed to, like, I forget if it's either Equalizer 1 or 2, where it's like it's very clear as to why he's motivated to do what he's doing. And this one, you do get the resolution at the end, but it just, the entire time watching, it's just like, yeah, I think it would have done way better in terms of the viewer experiences to know the motivation for the protagonist or for the main character from the get-go. So overall, I thought it was a pretty lackluster crime movie. I do like back-weighted by the first Equalizers. Some to go ahead and get it a B-. I do recommend it, especially if you like the first ones. I thought it was less convincing than the other two, but certainly, again, fan of Denzel Washington and fan of the series. So overall, B-, could have been stronger, not much dimension to the characters, and pretty average crime thriller drama. So if you've not seen it or would like to, you're going to want to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. So I watched this, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago, so definitely not going to get scene by scene, but the movie opens up and you see these two an old guy, or like a middle-aged guy and a young kid, probably 12 or 13, kind of just like rolling up to this farm in Sicily. The setting is modern day time in Sicily. And so they ride up there and they pull into there and there's just bodies littered everywhere. It's just this big winery ranch kind of thing in the Sicilian countryside. And they roll up and you see a bunch of dead bodies. And so they go in there, or the dad tells the son or the young kid to stay in the car. He goes in the thing, and Robert McCall is being held at gunpoint by 2 or 3 other people, and there's more bodies littered throughout this farm countryside place. And so you get the standard Robert McCall, he's going to put his watch on, he's going to say you have 9 seconds. You know, they think the bad guys think they're in control, and Robert's in control. And so the guy that's holding the gun on him is too close. He's able to, real quick action sequence where he kills a couple of the bodyguards and then wounds and ends up killing the old guy. And then he goes back outside to leave from this farm. And the little kid has a little .22 shotgun or a little rifle of some sort. And he shoots Robert and it kind of hits him in the back and in the leg. And Robert turns around and decides not to kill the kid. And the kid runs away. He's just kind of a minor character. There's no development from the small kid's character past that. And so, at least, I don't think so now. And so Robert McCall is now injured. He gets found on the roadside, kind of bleeding out or certainly, incapacitated. He gets taken to a Sicilian doctor named Enzo Aricio. And Enzo asks him, Robert, are you a good or bad man? And Robert's like, I don't know. And so Enzo later on ends up saying, that's the reason he takes care of him is because only a good man would say he doesn't know if he's got a good character or not. And so Robert is now healing, and you kind of have some mundane, again, just kind of like mundane scenes that didn't think move the plot along any. But took about 45 minutes to an hour into the movie. But after the initial fight scene, have any more action or real kind of development. But you meet Amina. She's just like a local lady that Robert kind of, gets some romantic interest in. She ends up asking him out at one point. Not much of a love story in this one at all. But Robert calls into some undisclosed CIA phone number and gives location or gives some information that this winery is importing and exporting more than they say they are. And so you have an agent that is played by Dakota Fanning. I'm not sure if she even really has a name. This is an actor on the list. And so, but the Dakota Fanning is the kind of mid-level CIA agent, kind of new, and she's under her boss, Frank Conroy. So they go and investigate, and they realize that Dakota and Frank and the CIA realize that there's this faction, or there's this illegal drug shipments coming in. It's just like a bunch of pills, and they didn't know they were the cell or the organization moving these things in Sicily were not on the CIA's radar. And so they start investigating into that. It's kind of, I think, so it's like you have the two main gangsters are Vincent Quaranta and his brother Marco, and the local law enforcement is Agent Benucci. But so Marco, he beats up Lorenzo, who's a shop owner, and Robert sees him do so. Marco ends up burning down Lorenzo's I don't know if it's like a butchery or charcuterie or whatever, but just a little mom and pop shop, and it gets burned down. And so you have another scene where Vincent Quaranta is basically like telling somebody that they need to like sell their business or sell another building so that they can put up a casino or hotel, and they just flat out deny him, and then they literally throw this old dude out of the window and hang him, and they leave him in the public square for everyone to see. This is what happens if you go against the mafia. And so, again, there's some kind of minor developments in terms of like the criminality and just the plot, but the underlying criminal enterprise is like Marco and Vincent are selling drugs like Syrians or something, and the Syrians are then using that or buying it from Syrians, and that money is being used for terrorist attacks. And so kind of some moral quandary there, I guess, on the criminality, but it just wasn't, as a viewer, it wasn't super clear as to what the relationship was between the Syrians and the Italian mafia, but it just looked like the drugs that the Italians or the Sicilians bought from the Syrians went to terrorist-funded activities. And so regardless, the next major development in the criminality or in just the overall plot, you have Dakota Fanning approaches Robert McCall, and like she's trying to like sneakily take a picture, and he's like, I'll turn my head on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and smiles for the camera. And so Dakota's like, you're kind of a person of interest, because they talk about all the bodies found on this Italian farm, and Robert's like, I'm not a person of interest, I'm just an interesting person, which is kind of like, I don't know, probably the best line in the movie, but again, nothing really stood out to me as anything unique in this one. But regardless, Marco beats up and intimidates Agent Benucci. He breaks into his house. Agent Benucci had reported some crime that he wasn't supposed to, and Marco threatens to kill his daughter. And so, kind of the next day or so, or within the next week or whatever, Agent Benucci and his family is eating at a little restaurant. Robert McCall is in the background. Marco comes in with all, being a hotshot, and goes and kind of like intimidates Agent Benucci again, and Robert McCall is just staring at him. So Marco goes over and is like, you should stay out of other people's business. And so Robert again quickly grabs his hand, and the scene from the trailer. If you see the trailer where he's like, I'm pressing on the median nerve. This is a 2 out of 10. Next will be a 3, and 4 you can't handle 4 or something. And so he basically makes the big steps over the line and directly puts his hands on one of these Sicilian mafia members. And tells Marco has got like 2 goons with him, tells them to leave, and so Marco's in compliance because he's under a lot of pain and duress, and so Robert releases him, and Marco storms out of the building, and him with his crew, he's like, we're going to kill the American, and Robert had followed them outside, and he kills all of them. And so Marco is killed, his 2 goons are killed, and then Vincent is now very angry. He's just kind of like running around, kind of like a similar scene to one of the Godfather movies when they're looking for, I forget the character, but they're looking for one of the main dudes, and he's just walking around the Sicilian square just yelling to anybody in the streets, like, find this person, you'll be rewarded. And so Vincent does that in The Equalizer 3, and basically just trying to avenge his brother's death and continue his drug empire. And so that goes on, kind of getting to the resolution of the movie. Robert, I forget exactly what happens to Vincent Quaranta, but I'm assuming he dies at some point. I just honestly blanking on what happens to his character. But regardless, the agents tell Robert he's no longer a person of interest. But I think Dakota Fanning, she gets like bombed. Someone tries to it's either Marco before he dies or Vincent tries to bomb Dakota Fanning. So she gets injured and she's in the hospital. But again, I forget what happens to Vincent. But then they kind of getting to the absolute resolution of the movie is Robert he visits Dakota in the hospital, and he drops off a bag of a very specific number, like $360 some odd thousand and $400. But it's basically, that's when you learn the entire motivation for Robert's actions. Was basically there was just some steel worker that he drove around or gave a Uber ride to one time, and had his retirement or his pension stolen from him. And so that is really the motivation, but again, the entire movie, you're not sure why Robert is doing any of this, whereas in opposed to the previous ones, it was very clear as the motivation, which I think having the resolution at the end of this movie was not a good director's choice. And so regardless, that is what happens, and that is the resolution to the movie, is Robert was just returning some random person's pension fund, and the guy and his wife are able to stay in their home and unpack their things, because they're all packed up ready to move out when Dakota drops off the money. So that is the resolution to the movie. Again, it was nothing special for me. I liked the previous ones better. I didn't think there was anything new to Robert's character. I thought the plot development was overall slow in comparison to the first couple too. But still gave it a B-, entertaining on the lower end. So thank you for watching my review of The Equalizer 3, and I will see you on the next one.